What is up, guys, and welcome back into the Millennial Profit. My name's Adam, and I'm a full-time reseller. If you're new here, I show you all different kinds of ways to make money. So if you like money, hit that subscribe button. Today, we are going to be talking about how to ship on Amazon FBM fulfilled by merchant for beginners. FBM is just like shipping on eBay. I'm even going to show you an example later in this video, but first I need to talk about a bunch of other stuff on all the ins and outs of shipping. Again, we are just talking about FBM. This is not a video about FBA where you send your items into Amazon and they ship them for you. I will be making a separate video on that about how to package your items to get them to Amazon for FBA, but this video is strictly on FBM, so let's hop straight in. Supplies you're going to need if you're shipping your own items. Just like eBay again, you're going to need a ruler, you're going to need a shipping scale, you're going to need a printer, strapping tape, boxes, poly mailers. I've got links to all that down below. And I've also made a shipping supplies video. I will link that above. The video says it's for eBay, but again, FBM is basically just eBay, just you're doing it on Amazon. You're storing the items yourself, you're shipping the items yourself. Next, assuming you've already signed up for your account, I've talked about all of this in my first Amazon for Beginners video. I would highly recommend getting the professional plan, which is $40 a month, and that will enable you to offer free shipping. As I talked about in that video, you'll be able to make a lot more sales with free shipping versus the individual plan, which is a pay per sale, where they make you charge shipping on that. It's just really hard to compete without offering that free shipping. So to be able to make those sales, I would just go in with the $40 professional plan and get going. Now, just like I say in all of my eBay videos, you should know how much things roughly cost to ship before you are even buying them, because you need to be able to build that cost in to make sure that you're able to make a profit. I see too many people buying a lot of stuff. They don't know how much it's going to ship. Once it sells, they end up losing money because they did not factor in what it was going to cost to ship. Because with FBM, it does not tell you how much the thing is going to cost to ship. Whereas like FBA, when you plug it into the calculator, it will tell you what all your fees and shipping and everything are. FBM does not, so you need to make sure that you factor in this cost. So how can I know how much my items will cost to ship before I list them? What I did when I started out is I just used a shipping calculator. I pulled it up in my phone. I would use the eBay shipping calculator, but then Pirate Ship came out with a shipping calculator and they have the same rates as Amazon, so I would just use that. I will link that down below as well. I will say, do not actually use Pirate Ship for your Amazon listings. Make sure you're shipping from Amazon, because it's a whole thing. If you don't use Amazon's labels, then they can say they didn't get it. And unless you have tracking from an Amazon label, then you can't really do anything from it. So just use the Pirate Ship to just generate what the costs are going to be beforehand. And basically on a shipping calculator, you just plug in 2 zip codes, you plug in a weight, dimensions, and it shows you all of the rates that are available. So for me in Ohio, I like to do worst case scenario. So I'd plug in an Ohio zip code to a California zip code, the weight and dimensions, just roughly. I mean, you're looking at something in the store, say it's a pair of shoes, or even if you're sourcing online, you put in 15 by 12 by 6, 2 or 3 pounds. From Ohio to California for me, it's going to usually show about $12 to $14 for an item like that. Then I know that's how much I have to build into my costs. If I can't build in a sale to California, I shouldn't be buying. You got to make sure these items are profitable no matter where you sell it. So build in that cost to the furthest destination from you. So it's important to note that the 3 things that shipping is dependent on are weight, dimensions, and location. And like I said, I always like to overestimate those numbers just to be safe and to build in that extra profit. So now that you know how to actually see how much your items are going to cost to ship after listing, let's show you how to actually ship an item after it sells on Amazon. It is a super easy process, so please do not be intimidated. All you have to do is, I would do this on desktop. You could try to do it on mobile, but the app is just kind of fidgety. So on desktop, go to Open Orders, Seller Fulfilled Unshipped, find the order you want to ship, and then click Print Shipping Label. From there, you can put in your weight and dimensions, and then it will pop up with all of your shipping options. The 2 carriers that Amazon has deals with that you'll be able to use on there are USPS and UPS. And it can be intimidating at first when you see all of these different options, but I typically just choose the cheapest one, unless they pay for an expedited service, which we're going to talk about in a little bit when we get into the shipping templates. But again, 96% of the time, I'm just sending it whatever the cheapest option is. All right, so diving into the basics and all of the services. Another thing that trips a lot of people up is most people want one way to ship everything, and that's just not how it is when you're fulfilling your own orders, because it's dependent on location. So even if you have the same exact item with the same weight and dimensions, it may go ground advantage if I'm shipping it to Indiana, but if it's going to California, it might be cheaper to ship at UPS. It literally is dependent on location, so you just have to be flexible and willing to change up the services depending on where the item is going. So don't just think you're going to ship the same item the same way every single time. If an item is under 1 pound, the only two services that you need to look for are UPS Ground Saver and USPS Ground Advantage. And I use USPS Ground Advantage probably 90% of the time on these items. As for the weight on these, the thresholds are 4, 8, 12, and 15.9 ounces, meaning that you want to try to get under those if possible. So if you can put something in a poly mailer and get it under 8 ounces versus it being 12 ounces, it's going to cost a little less. Those thresholds are where the price goes up a little bit. And the cost generally for these under 1 pound items going Ground Saver or Ground Advantage are anywhere between $3.50 and $6.50. That's typically why I source a lot of items that are under 1 pound, because I know they're not going to cost any more than $6.50 to ship. So definitely if you're starting out, I would look into a lot of items that are under 1 pound and you're not going to get hosed on shipping. Now here's where it can become confusing on items over 1 pound. With items over 1 pound, you have a ton of options to choose from, and also many places you could make a mistake, so I'm going to try to be as clear as I possibly can so that hopefully you don't make a mistake. First off, I'm going to get this out of the way quick just because I don't use these a ton. You have the USPS Priority flat rates, so these have boxes and envelopes. I honestly do not use these that much. Unless you're selling stuff that's really compact and heavy, it's not typically going to be cheaper than UPS Ground Saver or USPS Ground Advantage. But I will touch on these briefly. Each of these has their own specific package. I will put that up on the screen. It is important to note that these flat rates have to be sent in that specific box or package. If you select a padded flat rate, you have to send it in one of these padded flat rates. You cannot just send it in some random priority box. It has to go in that specific service. So these are labeled, so you just have to send it in whatever that is if you do select that. So there's about 8 of these different types of flat rates, but honestly I only use like 2 of them, and that's very rarely, maybe once or twice a month. And it's usually on eBay. I'm not selling these type of things on Amazon, but I don't know what you're selling, so I'll briefly mention them. We have this padded flat rate here that I use occasionally. I use that for like hoodies and stuff if they're going to California. And then we've got this other flat rate that you can fit a lot of hoodies and stuff in as well. So those are the only 2 I really use, and I haven't really heard of many people using a ton of these, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them. Next, you have USPS Priority Mail, which yes, those are Priority Mail flat rates. Don't get those confused. This is completely different. I don't know why they name it the same thing. But do not confuse it and start using these flat rate boxes and mailers with a normal priority label, because again, you're not allowed to do that. And also you can get all these for free on the USPS website, so they've got the flat rates you can get on there for free, and then they've actually got these mailing boxes, and these are what you can use for normal priority. Those will just say mailing box. They also have some Tyvek mailers, they're called. You can use those with normal priority as well. So just make sure not to mix and match between the two, because that's where you'll get those surcharges. Just for the sake of this video, let's just call this standard priority, just so we're not mixing it up with flat rates. And typically when I'm choosing priority, it's usually on items that are 2 to 5 pounds. And I should also note, you don't have to use any of these priority boxes. Unlike the flat rates where you actually have to use those, you don't have to use these. You could use any poly mailer or spare scrap box and slap a standard priority label on it. But that's about it for standard priority. I honestly don't use it a ton since USPS Ground Advantage came out, which you're probably like, isn't that what you said you used for under 1 pound? Yeah, so there was First Class that you used for under 1 pound, and there was Parcel Select that you used for over 1 pound. They merged the 2 of those. Those are now Ground Advantage. So Ground Advantage is also an over 1 pound service, as well as UPS Ground Saver that I said I use for under 1 pound as well. That is also over 1 pound. But anyways, typically on these 2 to 5 pound items that I'm selling, I'm sending Ground Advantage. So I don't think I really need to go super in depth on that. It's pretty simple. You plug the weight and dimensions in, and Ground Advantage most of the time is going to pop up as the cheapest rate. You're good to go. Just select it, and you can send that in whatever you want. You can send that in poly mailers, scrap boxes. I shouldn't say whatever you want. You can't be sending it in priority boxes. You can send it literally anything but the priority boxes. Next, if you're shipping books or other media, you're going to want to use medium mail. Pretty plain and simple, as long as that's cheaper. Sometimes Ground Advantage is even cheaper than that. And just to throw another wrench into things, USPS has cubic rates with Priority and Ground Advantage. Luckily, you don't have to do anything special on here. Like on Pirate Ship, it shows up as a separate rate. They kind of combine them now on Amazon, which is nice. So you just put in the weight and dimensions, and sometimes you'll see a cubic rate that shows up. That will say Ground Advantage cubic or Priority cubic. You're good to select that, because again, it just depends where the item is going, and I think it's like 15 inches on each side and under 20 pounds. then the cubic rate will sometimes be cheaper if it's going like in your area of the country. Not really anything special you have to do. You're going to hear me say this a million times, but plug the weight and dimensions in, select the cheapest option. Other options that I've occasionally used on items over 1 pound: UPS ground, UPS 3-day select, and UPS standard. Don't use these a ton, but again, plug in the weight and dimensions, select the cheapest option. Can't say that enough. Those are typically only ones that are going to be used on big dimensions and big weight items. And lastly, in your services, before we get into the shipping templates, if you have some express options available to customers, you can use UPS second day, UPS next day air, or USPS priority mail express. Again, these will basically be talked about in the next segment when I'm talking about shipping templates. These are just ways to get them their products faster. These are express services. So next, we're going to talk about shipping templates, what they are and how to create them. So basically, your shipping templates are just where you can set your handling time, where you want to ship to, how fast you want to ship, and where you decide if you want to offer these express deliveries and how much you want to charge for those. So to set a new shipping template, go to settings, create a new shipping template, and then OK. So it'll look like this, and you can name your template whatever you want, and only you can see this, so don't worry about what you name it. This is just for you. Select your per item weight base to automatically calculate the shipping for the customer based on the item's weight. So this is if you are charging shipping. So you can decide if you want to charge shipping or do free shipping in here as well. But again, if you do the individual, you don't have a choice. You only have a choice on professional. If you want to do free shipping, that's where you select free economy and choose your transit times. You can change any of this later if you need to. You will always have this standard shipping. You can just adjust that flat rate fee if you want to. Then from here, pretty self-explanatory. You can select any other shipping types you want to offer and unselect any shipping types you don't want to offer. You can also choose whether you want to do international shipping or not. I'm not even going to go into that. I would not recommend international shipping at all on Amazon, so I would just stay away from that. Then you may want to consider editing your regions. So if you don't want to sell to places like Alaska or Hawaii, or if you do want to sell there and just charge more for shipping because you know it's going to cost more, then you can do that here. Then you're going to want to head to your general shipping settings just to set the very general things like your handling time and everything. You'll want to plug in your address so that if you have any returns, which trust me with Amazon, you're going to have returns, that's where those items are going to come back to. So you can put a PO box in there, you can put your personal address, business address, wherever you want those returns to be shipped back to, that's what you should put in there. You can put in your fulfillment settings like your cutoff times and drop off days and handling time. Make sure you set it to what you can actually do because you do not want to miss these times on Amazon. They will quickly axe your account. They don't mess around. As for handling time, I typically do 2 days. I ship on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you can ship out every day, that's great. Do 1 day handling and you might be able to make some more sales. Again, just do whatever you are able to commit to and actually do. So if you don't want to go through here and do all of these by yourself, I'm going to put up some example templates. Credit goes to Your Selling Guide. They created these templates and I found them on Google. So I'm just going to throw them up on the screen right now and you can screenshot these if you want to copy some of these. We've got 4 of them up here for you. Couple free shippings, couple flat rate shipping options. There's millions of different combinations you can make with shipping templates. Just do what works for you. Hopefully these are able to help you get a good start on that. I will also link the article to where I got these down below, so definitely go check that out. There's a lot of really helpful information in that. All right, example time. We're here on our seller dashboard. You're going to go to open orders for what you have. United States, that's all I sell in. So 1, we can see, boom, we sold this little gel thing, whatever that is. We go to buy shipping, just like we talked about. And then we already have the weight and dimensions in here because I've sold it. Actually, we don't have the weight. It's 4 ounces. So you're going to want to scale like I've talked about. And then you're going to want different size poly mailers. This is going to go in that. It's going to be under the 4 ounce rate. If you remember correctly, USPS Ground Advantage less than a pound goes by 4, 8, 12, and 16 are the thresholds. So 4 ounce. And again, we're going to choose between Ground Advantage and UPS Ground Saver, which isn't even popping up on this one. So we're not going to use that one. It's not going to work on all of them, but usually under a pound is going to be Ground Advantage. So you can see all of our different rates we can choose from here. And clearly this guy wins. Don't use first class. They've phased that out, but for some reason they're still letting you use that. First class and Parcel Select, they're still showing, but they phased those out and merged those into USPS Ground Advantage. So that's going to be the one that we want to use. Then all you're going to do is hit buy shipping and print. Simple as that. You don't need a label printer either, but if you are making it big time, label printer
is a great thing to have. And I've linked a couple good ones down below.
So that will pretty much do it, guys. I hope this was helpful to you. I've never really seen many FBM videos out there, and I mainly do FBM, so I think I'm going to make some more videos on this, as there's really not that much information out there for us, and I kind of just had to do a bunch of stuff with trial and error, so I figured I would share my knowledge with you all. If there's any other FBM videos you'd like to see me make, drop a comment down below, and I'll do my best to pump those out. If you're interested in joining my reselling group, you can check that out, first link in the description, for daily in-store and online leads. There's money to be made everywhere, guys. Let's go get it. Thank you for watching The Millennial Prophet.